So thank you, Tres, for being with me today. It was a little bit of a last minute, but I am really glad that we made it before me going off grid. And first, let's start from where you started, actually. You're in Amsterdam, but you're not from there. Tell us a little bit that story.
Yeah,
What
this
brought
is
you
true.
there?
So I'm T.W. Hawk, for those who don't know. I'm an author of this book right here, How to Succeed on Purpose, and creative entrepreneur, and I've done a lot of diverse things in my career: speaking, teaching, advising startups, guiding meditation, producing meditation for a couple of different global apps. So, and I know you wanted to speak about spiritual entrepreneurship, so I probably fit somewhere in that context, which we'll get to. But ultimately, that's really what led me to the Netherlands and to Amsterdam in particular, because I had just published my book. And well, let's see, rewind. So I grew up in New York, went to school in New York, and spent my career in Hollywood. I graduated on a Sunday. I moved out to Los Angeles the following Monday and started my unpaid internship and never looked back. So 2 decades later, after living in a gorgeous home in Malibu overlooking the water, I just felt called to, let's see, unravel greater truths, or there was an itch that I couldn't quite scratch, something that I felt was calling me to go deeper. It was like, this is fantastic, but is there also something more? And I had been sharing quite a bit during that period as a teacher for content creators, and coining lots of phrases in the entertainment space, things like the new Hollywood and Mediaverse, and writing and publishing, and hosting a series called Hollywood Drive-In Talk, which was sharing these little 3-minute business precepts while I was driving my car from agency to studio to Beverly Hills meeting to pitch meeting or what have you. And when I look back at that time, what I realized over 50 plus episodes is it was really a precursor to How to Succeed on Purpose, because they were distillations of, like, yes, business wisdom, yes, kind of life principles, but they could be applied universally in all different fields and really to people's personal life. And that was the feedback that I got. So sharing it in the context of being a Hollywood entrepreneur, but really it was already the seeds, the groundwork was laid for what was to come. And that journey took me to Big Sur, California for 5.5 years, where I lived on a beautiful, like, 500-acre ranch overlooking the Pacific, lived in community, studied all kinds of spiritual practices, became a certified Tai Chi and Qigong practice leader, built a sweat lodge on the Esalen campus, studied 5 rhythms dancing, traveled all over the world, and through those travels revisited Europe, including the Netherlands, where I had also done a semester abroad in Maastricht, which is in the south. And so I always felt a connection to Europe, and specifically to the Netherlands. And so 5 years ago, no, maybe not, 4 years ago, I came back, and within a couple of days of visiting Amsterdam was like, yeah, I'm gonna live here. And I just love the beauty of the city and the charm. It was a metropolitan village. In a strange way, it kind of had elements of Big Sur, which is like living in community and a center for consciousness and entrepreneurship and conscious entrepreneurship, circular economy, innovation, and it was just super multicultural and multinational. And so it just resonated with everything that I was continuing to search for after this, like, cocoon-like creative investigation and exploration in Big Sur. So I published my book. It was time to promote it and launch it and get it into bookstores and speak and teach and lead workshops and inspire others. And that's what drew me here. And that I've now been residing in Amsterdam for 2.5 years. And things were going extraordinarily well right up until, about 1.5 years ago when COVID hit, which of course transformed everything and caught everyone by surprise. But that is why I'm in Amsterdam. So it was all about kind of the coming out of the cocoon and being the butterfly, or in this case, the hummingbird, which graces my cover, and buzzing around and sharing, extracting the sweetness, the nectar from life, and sharing that and pollinating as many different flowers as possible.
Thank you for the journey. Tell me about another journey that doesn't seem so straightforward. How smooth or not was the transition from Hollywood entrepreneurship to conscious entrepreneurship for yourself, for your circle, for your spirit, for all levels, whatever you wish to explore, right? With this answer.
It was really an organic process. As I said, kind of the seeds were there. I'd always been into meditation. I'd always been into spirit, studying spirit. At one point, for about a decade, I worked very closely with the Chopra family. So Deepak Chopra's kids. So they were like the first family of the New Age movement. So it was something I was raised with and just always had an ease with speaking about and leaning into. And so that always imbued just my way of being, my way of doing business, working creatively. And as I said, I think we evolve in upward spirals, right? We all come with a certain theme or lesson or purpose in our lives. And what we find is we keep experiencing, the same kind of rhythms, patterns, lessons again and again, but aspirationally and hopefully we're experiencing them on a higher and higher level. So, it's not that we're spinning in a circle, but we're on this, kind of infinity, and it's you are here and here and here. You're somewhere in the infinite loop. But hopefully that's a vortex of upward spirals. So we're learning and growing and evolving the way that we meet the world through, our manner of being. I mean, we express how and who we are in every interaction, in the way that we handle our families, or the way we experience abundance or lack, our romantic lives, our, all aspects, all chakras. And so the yearning was organic, and the process can sometimes be dramatic. So it's an organic and yet dramatic process, because when you have these realizations and you kind of up level through your life, what happens is the things that aren't resonating anymore or vibrating at that frequency, they just start to crumble. They crumble and fall away. And that can be very painful. And that can also be surprising. I mean, it can be, relationships and friendships and business associations and all of these things that we had ascribed value, that we work towards, and then through this kind of process, let's call it ascension, they crumble and fall. But something beautiful is always enters in its place. But you need to first create the vacuum for something else to fill it. And that process of sucking out or crumbling underneath you, riding that wave and being able to surf that wave is, I mean, that's part of the process too. So I've ridden quite a few waves and some tsunamis in my time, and I think that girds you all the better and prepares you all the more for what's to come, and really puts you in a state of gratitude and receptivity for, okay, this is not working anymore. What else is there? What else is to come? And I feel like that is cyclical in our lives. You know, things are working, it's great, everything's going amazing, and then it gets a little uncomfortable, and then maybe really uncomfortable, and then this doesn't work anymore. Now I'm in misery, and it forces us to move something, to move ourselves. And through that process, yeah,
the cycles, right? Yeah, totally. Right now, or if there's nothing present right now, the most recent experience you can remember, what was experience that really challenged you to remain in your spiritual path, like to continue your non-conventional entrepreneurship?
Well, I wouldn't say there was any one particular event. For me, tends to be kind of the eye of the storm or the center of the chaos. So, and I'm also someone, you know, if I knock on a door and find it closed or a wall goes up, I'm not like, I don't turn on my heel and walk away from it. I'll, you know, if there's a wall, I'll go over it, around it, under it, through it, until I realize, okay, this wall, I'm not going to get through it, and I need to try something completely different. So that's really more the metaphor. I mean, in terms of actual events, yeah, just feeling the succession of either things transforming in my business and also in my personal life, where there's so many signs and signals that something isn't working, or in my experience, that it almost feels cosmic. Like, okay, all of these things happening in succession, I get it. There's a clear message here. And so being able to fully embody and be present for those experiences, painful as they may be, but without attaching to them. So realizing, okay, this is extraordinarily painful, but not identifying with it. Like with this betrayal, you know, which again could be personal or business or romantic, or something falling away from you, or not being acknowledged in some way, where it happens in a way that's so, you know, I talk about in my book suffering, and that suffering actually has a beautiful purpose, because the purpose of suffering, can you guess what the purpose of suffering is?
Sometimes for me, it feels that suffering is almost like an alarm that you're either going on the wrong direction, or that you need to pay attention to some specific traits of what you're doing. That there's something wrong there. It's just like, just pay a little bit more attention to this area.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
Well, what I've distilled it down to, which is really what the book is about, are all these compressions and complete distillations of personal experience and universal truth, modern wisdom, ancient wisdom. But suffering's purpose is its cessation. The whole purpose of suffering is so that we can figure out how to end it. So in a way, suffering is its own sacrificial lamb. The only reason it exists is so that it can declare itself to be ended. Now, the reason for that is, you know, we can enter very easily, and I think many of us, the earth right now, we're in this, what I call a comfort zone of discomfort. So it's getting more and more uncomfortable, but unless things get really painful and dramatic, or we're in a, like, if you're in a personal state of suffering, emotionally, physically, you will do anything and everything. That is your number one priority, is to alleviate and end your suffering. If you are in pain, you want to solve that problem. So suffering, right, is the alarm bell. Like you said, you're going in the wrong direction, something's off. But if you are suffering, you don't want to endure that very long. You want to end it as quickly as possible. And in the figuring out how to bring relief to that and to end it, you're solving the problem. So it's this beautiful declaration. When things are just, like, how's it going, Aliki? It's good. Could be better. Not so bad. I really shouldn't complain. I should be grateful. I've got a job. I've got a boyfriend. I've got a this. I've got. So if you're kind of uncomfortable, but you're in the comfort zone, you're not going to move. If you're really in a state of suffering, you are out of there. So it's really a gift, suffering, in this kind of cosmic way. If you can, again, step out, not be attached to it. Oh, I'm suffering, woe is me. You can throw yourself a brief pity party, but then it's like, moving on. How do I solve this? How do I move the energy? How do I transform this to something new so I can invite, joy and abundance into my life? Because that's our ground state, is to be joyful and abundant.
So do you use suffering in a way, like, I'm just trying to imagine how would the world be if everybody was successful on purpose, like have passed through this path, this journey of actually finding what's their purpose and being successful in that. And I wonder if you have maybe a more clear image of how a world like that would be than me. And how can we move towards there? Like, is suffering a way? How could we move there?
I'm not a proponent of suffering by any means. This book is not about, suffering. That's just one of the, I talk about healing, I talk about intuition. It's really about, and what purpose really is it's living from the heart. It's moving from a head space into a heart space. If you want to live a regretless life, then live a heartful existence. Because no one on their deathbed ever looked back and said, man, I just followed my heart too often, And if there's ever conflict between, the brain and what you think you should do and what analytically it looks good on paper and what your gut is telling you, the gut, your heart, your intuition, your soul, that guidance should always overrule the head. So for me, a world where we're all living on purpose is a world where we're really heart-centered and we're moving from this much more, even physically centered place in our body. I talk about we're in this miraculous human form, and there is no way, despite, any argument to the contrary, that the miraculous human body, which is self-maintaining and self-healing and elastic and all these things, is just a transportation system for your brain. That's
a little bit too complex,
like we're just
right?
gonna move this brain around real efficiently. Like, no. Like, there's intelligence in every cell of our body. As you know, water is incredibly powerful. Water itself has memory. It responds. We are, 75, 80, 85% water. So the cells of our body have memory, have intelligence. When people say, well, how do you follow your intuition? How do you do that? I can't experience that following my gut thing. Well, I think universally, have we ever made a decision or gone out with the person or taken a job or some kind of made a deal or bought something where on paper it looked good? We look for support from our friends or advisors. They're like, Aliki, this is everything you ever wanted. This is the dream scenario, the dream place, the dream guy, the dream job, the dream. and then you do it, and then 3 months later, 6 months later, it goes pear-shaped, and you're like, shit, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it wasn't going to work out. So what is that part of ourselves that didn't, that knew it, that knowing? And my belief, my knowing is that we can cultivate that, and we have that inner voice. And so call it the heart, call it intuition, call it divine, your divine hookup, your connection with source, spirit, your soul, whatever that is that you want to name, that can guide us. And it never guides us incorrectly. It always guides us to our path of least resistance, as my dad would say, and even when we run into, bumps in the road, here's another cornerstone of my philosophy I was thinking about, because it's very easy to say like, oh, I'm succeeding on purpose and I'm a spiritual entrepreneur and everything is always amazing. I'm just floating through life. On social media, I've got it all. I've got the hookup. I experience, my process is I inhabit, experience, and embody emotionally all of the bumps and the thrills and chills and the emotional roller coaster of life. But I try very quickly to have the emotion, experience it, and then step out of it and examine, like, I got really angry there. What does anger mean? Well, it means a threshold or a boundary's been crossed. What boundary of mine has been crossed? Why do I feel, that's important to me? And then distill that into some kind of way to come to that situation or that person, communicating it with benevolence, compassion, and some distance, and acknowledging I'm a human being. I have emotions. There's no emotion that's good or bad. It just is. And we are the totality of our being and experience. And so live it, inhabit it, be it fully. That's the spiritual path. But just don't attach to it, because this too shall end. All of it, and none of us are getting out alive. So enjoy it while it lasts.
Absolutely. And thank you for guiding the conversation towards a question that it always brings different answers. And that is of how much, if you have you been in touch of the forces of the four elements in your own life and your own work? And with the four elements, I mean the earth, the air, the water, and the fire, the four natural elements, the one we can observe in nature around us. You did refer to two of them, like from my eyes, water very clearly, and the struggle, which is the fire, is a transformation. And I'm wondering if you identify to any of the four or to more than one, and how does that approach sound to you if you haven't until now thought about it?
Well, I think there are infinite paths to the divine, as there are infinite, beings. And right now there's 7.5 billion ways, to God or to divine experience. So the natural elements are, and any kind of paradigm around that is certainly legitimate and a pathway to experiencing our own divine nature. And I think essential to that is our experience of the earth and the natural world, because all of these elements are really of the earth, and the earth is, and our experience here, it is divine. That's, to go to Christ, that's what he's talking about. It's like, it's heaven on earth. Like, this is it, people, pay attention. Like, it's not, this is the divine experience. Like, wake up. Really, the Buddha, wake up, everyone's asleep. So what I find with the elements, and they are very present and I experience them, and when I'm disconnected from them, like in a city, I just moved to a place with a garden, and to be able to experience plants and listen to the wind through the trees and put my hands in the earth and connect with the green. And there's also a fireplace to be able to watch the fire, which itself is, it's like a fluid that's flowing upwards. I mean, it's hypnotic to submerge in a bath, to sit by a river, to watch the ocean, like the sounds of nature, of the elements, the way the elements appear visually. I mean, the five senses, the feast that is there from the elements and our experience of that, I mean, that's really all we need to connect us to our true nature, or to, our sense of divine nature, to source, spirit. And I think our biggest prevarication is separation. So the biggest lie we tell each other is like that we're separate from each other, or that we're separate from the earth. I mean, we literally are the earth. Like every cell in our being.
It's not the way.
I mean, just think of that, just that thought alone. Like you're not on the earth, you are the earth. Every cell of your body was made from earth. All the elements of earth will return to the earth. And where we are with our planet right now, I mean, to throw another metaphor, I love metaphors, but it really occurred to me, like the earth is our mother, right? And she loves us like your mother loves you. But if you are rude to your mother, if you do not treat your mother with respect, what is she going to do? What does your mother do if you're rude or you disrespect your mother?
Mine actually will be very strict and I cut it off straight away.
That's what I'm saying. So, the earth right now is basically slapping our asses and sitting us down in a chair and saying, like, you're not going out into the world if you're rude to your mother. You're not. Yeah. And this is what we're doing, is we're disrespecting our mother. Like the source, every breath we take, every meal we have, every sip of anything we drink is all from the Mother Earth. And when do we ever, I mean, I try with every meal, I always, thank you, for these blessings, Mother Earth. Like, how often do we acknowledge the earth as the source of everything that we consume? I mean, absolutely. And we are the earth, just like you are of your mother. And, we shouldn't be disrespecting our mother. So to bring it back to the elements, it is elemental, it's literally essential, the essence of our being. We are the elements, and being in communion with the elements and attuned to the elements and in harmony with the elements teaches us everything we need to know, really, if we're paying attention.
Thank you for this beautiful image that was created from your words into my mind's eye. I know that I have been told by you, and I also can understand that you really love to work with words, right? But would you consider that that's your bigger gift, or would you consider that there is something else that you're bringing to the world that is your true unique gift?
I'm definitely a wordsmith. Writing is so we have primary forms, I think, as artists and creative beings, co-creative beings. And mine is writing. So even working as a filmmaker, as a director, as a marketer, as an entrepreneur, it's all about communication, and it's using the tools of a writer. It's like at the base of everything is writing and language and playing with words. And I have a huge appreciation for also the English, language in general. I love hearing different languages as a portal to culture. But for me, one really develops one's vocabulary, and especially in English, which I mean, said there are about 1 million words in the English language, you really can express precisely what it is you mean to say. And that to me is really important. And painting pictures with words and using words. I mean, I was just reading Stephen King's book on writing, and this is in my book too. I talk about words. You know, when we spell, words are spells. Words are, and they need to be spoken as well. It's like a magician. If you're not casting spells, right? You're spelling, you're casting spells with your words, you're manifesting. You are transmitting vibrational communication, symbology. And so much of what, at least my approach is, it's the words are important, but it's the vibratory expression of those words, whether they're on the page or in voice, or they've been used to create, form, conjure, or collaborate on a moving image, for example. It's still, it's a writing, you know, it's storytelling. I mean, there's a reason Christ spoke in parables. You know, it's stories are what connect us, you know, these amazing myths that resonate. I mean, the movie business is, you know, the United States' biggest export globally. And there's a reason for that, because storytelling is, it's the thread and fabric of our beingness as human beings. So
Thank
yes,
you for that.
I'm a
I can
writer.
totally see that. Can totally see that on you. And our last question, as we're going slowly towards the closing of this interview, and I hope that we will have continuation, but for now, I just want to honor the time. The last question that is always a little bit more tricky for all of us spiritual entrepreneurs, because we are very, very used in giving. We are very used in offering. We're very used in being in service of the world. And very few times we allow ourselves actually to express, what do we need ourselves to grow further, to thrive? What do we need in this specific moment? It doesn't mean that it's something that we will need for the rest of our lives, or that we will have been needing for the previous life. It's like in this moment, if somebody hears you and connects with you, and they feel that they want to support you in what you're doing, what is the kind of support that you will need right now to go further?
I guess the word that comes to me is engagement. That's really what I'm thinking. It's like, right now and thank you for the opportunity to have this interview and just express with you, because I'm boiling over with things to share. And at this point, you know what I'd love? I'd love someone to organize more opportunities for me to share. That's what I would like, because I really need, my work is for an audience and for others. It's really for giving and sharing. And to have the platform to be able to do that, that's the essential part that I've really been starved of during this last year of COVID. It's like, without the ability to interact and to engage and to light people up and to share inspiration, you know, you have a pitcher of water that has nothing to pour into, but it's still, you know, overflowing. And so that's what I'd like, is more opportunities to share what I have to offer and to share the inspiration. And, you know, the give and take, this is essential. Like, people, there's a lot of this, like, you just don't want to touch on this because it comes up a lot in these communities about, you know, giving. Someone was putting together, I just want a community of givers. It doesn't work that way. I've taught and spoken a lot on abundance. It's like, you need the giver and the receiver, right? And in the same way I need to give, I need to be received. And I also, it's like, to give a compliment, you need to be able to receive a compliment. You know, it works both ways. You know, one hand washes the other. It's a flow in and out. And so the reciprocity is really important. And so when we give as entrepreneurs, if we're in the spiritual, you know, entrepreneurship community, just know you also must be open to receive. It can't just all flow one way. And that's not a selfish thing to receive. It's essential, actually, to complete the circuit and the cycle and to keep it flowing.
Absolutely. That's why I'm introducing it in the end, because it's something that sometimes has been left outside, and I feel it's really important to support our system so we can actually serve more. So when we are nourished, we can serve more. And thank you so much for your time. Unfortunately, we'll have to close this part, and then we will go to the next part we talked before.
That's great.
Hopefully, we will have more opportunities for sharing, and let's see if something can manifest in that direction. We can talk more about that.
I love it. Thank you for asking great questions.
And if you would like, I just want to give some space if you want to express anything else for closing, if something is coming up, something needs to be expressed still, and then we'll slowly end the live from Facebook.
Yeah, I guess I'll leave. So I distill, I have these truth serums at the end of each chapter. So the chapters are only a page or two, and then I distill them in these little memorable quotes. But I have hundreds and hundreds of what I call truth serums. And they're all kind of poetic and playful. And this speaks to purpose, which is really about our why. You know, I ask a question at the beginning of my seminars sometimes, like, you know, who are you? Like, tell the person next to you, who are you? And then we do that exercise, and then I say, now tell them, why are you? Why are you? And it goes to a much deeper place and gets to that place of purpose, because it's like, why am I here? Why am I here? And this is an evolving thing through our lives, but if you can read this, it's when we know our why, the universe says, why not?
I like that a lot.
So when you know
because it is right like that.
If you can figure out your why, even in this moment, this week, you know, for today, this month, it doesn't have to be a whole lifelong why, because it evolves. But when you know your why, the universe says, why not? And the universe is a show-off. It wants to be generous. It wants to surprise you, you know? So ask, you know, why? This is my why. And then it'll say, why not?
I love it. Thank you so much, Truth. Thank you for today. Stay in our call. I will just close the Facebook Live and we'll continue like that.
Okay.
I really enjoyed that time.
Me too. Namaste, everyone.
So I just closed the live and I will stop the recording and start it again after. It doesn't tell you anymore. Okay, Zoom keeps changing all the time. I never know what's gonna do. Now it doesn't tell you anymore when it stops the recording.
Did it start and stop? Yeah, okay. Well, I have it, so I can always chop it up and send it to you.
I will start a new one just to have it as separate.
Okay, great.
And for the second part, I will be in the background. So I will let you be on the screen. I will be muted, so you're not going to have any questions from my side. And I will tell you the questions are very easy to remember, and I will tell you them up front. Remember that this is a separate part. So if you feel like you're repeating some of the things that you expressed in the live Facebook, don't feel that you have to say something completely different, because there are two different parts. It's almost like a summary that people can see as a preview for your interview. So you can use similar words, similar concepts.
And where will this live?
On our website, we're putting like voices of entrepreneurs, and the short ones, I'm feeling that they might be as introductions as we move on into creating a community. It's not happening right now, but I see it happening in the future. And as I was already engaging with extremely interesting people, I was like, I better start preparing the material, and when it's ready, it's already there, you know?
Okay. Yes.
So that's how it's going, because I'm letting it evolve very organically, actually. I'm not pushing the community to expand super fast and things like that this time. It's like I'm taking a different approach. So there are three questions, and actually we start from your last share. First of all, it's like, who is truth? So your why. Second is, what is your unique gift that you're bringing to this world? And the third is, what do you need right now to thrive? So some of them are repetitive. It's just a very short summary. And I will go into speakers view.
Do I have 5 minutes?
You have 5 minutes. Let me start the recording first. And then I'll start the recording. I'll go mute, and you just have the time to express these three questions. Who are you? What's your unique gift? And what do you need right now? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Start the recording.
Hello, everyone. I'm Truth W. Hawk. That's T.W. Hawk there on the cover of this book. I am an author. I'm a speaker. I've been a creative entrepreneur for my whole career, developing artists in Hollywood, producing movies, advising startups and entrepreneurs on their developing their companies. I've taught at Stanford. I currently live in Amsterdam, and part of this international community of spiritual entrepreneurs. So what is a spiritual entrepreneur? I think we're all beings of spirit, meaning we all have that inner voice, that intuition, that heart's guidance, that we all hear at one point in our lives or another. It's a voice that's always present and something that we can use to guide our best decisions, our path of least resistance in life, and to cultivate our greatest joy and our greatest gifts of abundance, actually. And so when we follow this intuitive guide within us, we are really what I call doing the metapreneurship thing. So what is a metapreneur? It's just adding meaning to your business model. You add meaning to your business model. So as part of spiritual entrepreneurship, we're guided by spirit, guided by intuition, guided by our inner knowing, by our heart, and letting that pull us through life into sharing our gifts, whatever our greatest gifts are to offer to the world. So for me, I love working with language and with expression, communication, with words. And my primary form as an artist is as a writer. And that informs everything else that I do: speaking, teaching, developing other artists, communicating, marketing. And I use this gift to inspire others. And what I found is I know that when I'm on purpose and succeeding on purpose, that people will come up to me after a talk or after a meeting, and they'll say what they felt really inspired, what I said was inspiring to them, or it inspired a change in them, or inspired them to do something that they were initially afraid of or hadn't considered before. And really my whole methodology is that I have lots of tools that I've collected and aggregated and developed through life, but I don't have the answers. You have the answers. And that is ultimately the heart of a spiritual entrepreneur, is the answers are within you. And all I can do is inspire that spiritual entrepreneur within you to follow your own inner wisdom, to express your greatest truth, to live your most abundant and joyful life. So thanks for listening. If you want to dive deeper, I encourage you to pick up a copy of my book, How to Succeed on Purpose, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the future.
Before we close, I would love you to add in the video, what would you need right now also?
Oh, yes.
So then we can tie it together.
I'm always leaving myself out of the equation.
I know, it happens all the time. That's why I'm reminding it. And I will just go mute again and you can
Okay,
take the
all right,
seat.
thank you. So like you, we all have aspirations or things that we need in order to do our greatest work. And mine is having platforms and communities and opportunities and stages or screens to share this work, either as an entrepreneur or as a meditator or as an advisor or as a coach. I have lots of skills and experience and wisdom and knowledge to offer. And I would love to do that with your community, in your community, or on a platform or stage somewhere in the world that you might have access to. So if any of this resonated with you or any of my content resonates with you, that's the invitation that I would be happy to accept, is an opportunity to come and inspire you and your community wherever they may be. Thanks.